Hello, good evening. Welcome to UpFront. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Tonight on the UpFront, some members of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union are calling for the removal of the transport minister, describing him as incompetent in tackling the transport crisis in the country. We'll also be telling you about the scarcity of vehicles in major parts of Accra and other cities across the country. That's what's coming up on UpFront. Don't go anywhere.
The transportation challenges here in Accra have now reached very alarming levels, with many commuters struggling every single day to get vehicles to travel to their various destinations, particularly in the morning and then in the evening. Some of the commuters say that some drivers are riding on this to charge unapproved fares, and this is taking a serious toll on their daily lives.
Very difficult because coming from Ablekuma, already you don't get a car and you stay in traffic for like 2 hours. Then you get here on a normal day, there's a very long queue here. You stay in a queue for about 30 minutes at least before you get a car and you get to work. So roughly you spend about 3-4 hours before you get to work every day.
It's difficult for me that like the way I'm not getting car earlier to go, it have disturbed me so much, because if I went to the hospital, what I'm going to do, it will keep long before I'll come to the house. So it will delay me. So if they can do something about it, praise God.
Oh, I've been here about 30 minutes now, and we are waiting for a vehicle, but as at now, there's no vehicle here and we are stranded.
This current situation is really disturbing. We have to continuously deal with some drivers charging unapproved fares after every short distance, thereby draining our finances every day.
For some members of the GPRTU, particularly David Agbado, he says that the Transport Minister, Joseph Bukari Nikwe, has proven to be incompetent in managing this transport crisis, and for that reason, he must be removed from office.
The government has to sit up and analyze the situation and let us all solve it amicably. But if I will say something right now, I will say the Minister of Transport is supposed not to be at post again.
You want the minister sacked?
That is what I'm saying.
The transport minister must go.
The transport minister must go. The reason why the transport minister must go is this. He is not performing. He is not performing in his ministry. Why am I saying this? When you go to Gold Board, the CEO over there is performing well. We are all giving him credit. When you go to finance sector, Honorable Setekpe is performing well. When you go to Atuforsen is performing well. When you go to Bank of Ghana, the governor over there is performing well. When you go to MPA, fuel was 17 cities, now 10 cities and 11 cities. Is it not performing well? So what is the transport minister doing at his office? What is he doing? Recently, when there was shortage in October, November and December, he said he's going to bring STC to come and curb down madness.
But he did.
He did. How many weeks? And how many days? Have you seen the STC in town now?
It was meant for just the festive season.
Meant for the festive season. Are the people in Ghana not going under the same stress today? In people in Ghana, are they not going under the same stress today in Ghana?
There was a directive that the buses will be released again.
The buses will be released again. I'm laughing because of the buses will be released again. You see, we shouldn't be artificial problem solvers, but rather we should solve problem once and for all.
He also noted that high cost of spare parts is affecting many of their members and therefore pushing them out of the transport business.
The problem is that about 45 to 50% of the vehicles are in shops because of the high cost of spare parts. Sprinter bus, you can see, sprinter bus is what we use over here. A back castle of a sprinter bus is now costing, recently it was 55,000. But as I'm speaking to you, it's 7,500 or 8,000. And you are saying you have reduced spare parts.
And for many commuters, for government to drastically address this particular situation, more buses must be deployed to the various routes in order to contain the current crisis. For Joy News, Fatao Bayaga, Accra.
Let's go up front and speak to Abbas Imoro. He's the Industrial Relations Officer of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. Also joining us this evening is Alex Johnson, who is the head of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Transport Department. And a bit later, I will be joined by David Agwado, also with the GPRTU. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. Let me begin with you, Abbas. Why is there shortage of commercial buses on our roads in Accra and other major cities across the country?
Come again. Hello.
Mr. Imoro, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, yes, come again.
Right. I'm asking what is causing the shortage of commercial buses in Accra and other major cities across the country?
Well, normally this has been a yearly practice. Normally every year during Xmas festive mode, we experience a lot of traffic in town, both vehicular and human traffic. This has been in existence for so many years now. And after the Xmas festive mode, first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the situation returned to normalcy. So this is what we've been experiencing for years now.
Right. You talk about us experiencing it for years. That is correct. But this year's own seems to be a bit peculiar and a bit challenging, especially for passengers. You see long queues at the various bus terminals. Really, what is different from this year compared to the previous years where we've been experiencing this?
Well, we are statistically, we are getting more people in the city than it was. And as I said earlier, normally, if there are traffic...
Mr. Imoro, if you can kindly speak up for me, I'm struggling to hear you.
Okay. Is it better now?
Much better.
Okay. Yes, as I said earlier, normally in every traffic situation, one has to spend more time than it used to be. If a vehicle which runs, say, Accra La Paz, which would take 40 minutes to La Paz, when the traffic congestion is very high, definitely the vehicle will take more than that 40 minutes. And if, say, waiting for 40 minutes, you will go back and meet 10 people and it spends more than 40 minutes, you will go back and meet more than those 10 people. So this is the situation we say we are in. This is the situation we find ourselves in. Although that of this year is a little bit dicey than previous years, I must confess. But it is also not true that some operators intentionally want to create artificial shortage of vehicles that brings about the situation. No, that is also not true. That must be
right.
guarded.
Mr. Imoro, that is where I was about to come to, because this accusation is coming from all angles, especially passengers, saying that there is a deliberate attempt by commercial bus drivers to, hoard their vehicles, sort of, and come out during peak hours and charge exorbitant fees. You are disputing that as false. How true can we take your word? How sure are you with this?
Oh, my brother, if you have a vehicle which works for you, most of these vehicles were even bought with bank loans and they have payment schedule. Do you think you go and park your car just to make sure you create artificial traffic? The answer is no. So it is never true. That is not the reason. I was thinking everybody will help so that we'll fight this new disease of charging more than what some of the drivers are supposed to charge. That is the problem on hand. say, but
Right.
leaving that to suggest that some people that's not
Right.
that is just not.
Mr. Imuro, don't go yet. Let me bring in Alex Johnson with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Transport Department. Mr. Johnson, thank you very much for your time. We are hearing that the AMA is working to bring some electric buses on our road to ease these congestions. Tell us more.
Thank you, and good evening to your viewers, and for the opportunity to speak. Sure, AMA has been working consistently for some time now, and I have to say that we are very pleased to see the mayor strongly behind this, let me say, call to make sure that we have electric vehicles operating, in Accra in, let me say, medium term, 2 years, 2.5 years to come. Yes. And to start with, I think the issue is simply to address the urban mobility challenges that we face as a city. Abbas mentioned rightly that the population has increased and the passenger throughput has reduced, because if a vehicle needs to make a turnaround, come back for passengers in a commercial speed that is slower than a bicycle over a distance of about 11 kilometers, you can imagine how many people will have to wait in a queue. So all of these things are pointing us to have to restructure and strengthen our regulations. We understand from the point of view of our commercial unions that their unionship increases the opportunity for us to regulate and improve the passenger situation in town. It used to be better than now. Let me say regulation has gone down a bit, and thank God we have new leadership to bring that up. And we are very glad to make sure that we pursue the cause to the full, engage existing unions to be participants of a program. If they were previously purchasing vehicles with commercial loans, now it's going to come under a program which the mayor is leading to make sure that we can have something like a development component within the repayment schedule for fleet renewal programs. I think one of the strongest points of the mayor's program is to make sure that it is not just trotros being renewed, but we are renewing intentionally to also make sure that the technology is going to help the environment. So this perspective, I think, is something that is going to be very interesting to see all the stakeholders bringing up their concerns into how they want to engage with the program. It's happening in a lot of our sister cities across the continent. Nairobi, Dakar, everybody is ahead. Accra is lagging. Thankfully, we hope to see some leapfrogging in the process to make sure that we can bring ourselves to local management of transport. Thank you.
Alex, during the Christmas festivities, there was an announcement by the Transport Minister, Joseph Nikpe, that there were going to be some buses at some vantage points to help ease the congestion that usually comes with this festive season. And of course, after this festive season, we understand that these buses have been withdrawn. Was the AMA aware of this? Was this initiative done in collaboration with the AMA? And if you were aware of this, where are those buses now?
I should say that administratively, I wouldn't be the right person to respond to the management of the buses per se. But I should also say that it is a call to all local governments across the city to make sure that there was an intentional activation of activities to make sure that people were not stranded in town. So if you recall, the Accra Mayor, Honorable Mayor, actually convened all transport unions in Accra. There were specific interactions to make sure that some rules, basic rules, will be set for operations that happened within the CBD. I'm just trying to put this in context to say that there have been a lot of collaboration during the Christmas to make it safe. And the mayor actually christened the Safe Christmas period for all people traveling into Accra. Beyond that, I think that the most important thing is to also concentrate on the initiatives moving forward, looking at the current indicators we have. I should say that once we have picked up regulation, it brings responsibility closer to the doorstep of our transport unions and also makes sure that the support system from the public sector can also be readily made available where the need needs to be. So one thing about transport is that it is very cross-sectoral. You need every stakeholder to be on board, from services, infrastructure, and everything, because we do not travel for the sake of enjoying a ride. Right. Everybody has a place to go, yes. So in that process, every land use system requires a specific need for its transport. And as much as we are able to collaborate across institutions, it makes it easy to, let me say, map out every need of individual stakeholders and put that together in a concerted operational plan.
Right.
So just to use this opportunity to say that advocacy for collaboration so that we work together and make sure that the system improves.
Alex, don't go yet. Let me bring in David Agbuado with the Ghana Private Road Transport Union in at this point. And of course, in the midst of all of this shortage of commercial buses, some are portioning the blame on the head of the Transport Minister, Joseph Bukari Nikpe. And one of those persons is David Agbuado with the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. David, you are calling for the sacking of the Transport Minister. Why is that?
Much. What warrants that is that he is saying we, the transport operators, or the commercial transport operators, have great scarcity. And it is not true, because he is not abreast to his sector and he is not engaging the players, the industry players. So he didn't know what to say. And he came out with that statement. It's uncalled for. Why am I saying so? You see, he doesn't know the reason why people have increased or the passengers have increased. It's because the companies that are full off because of dollar, they have all regained conscious, and companies are working and they have employed people. Those that have go under redundancy have been called back to work. So it's increased the number of passengers in town. That is what we are seeing now. But he says it is we, the drivers, that are causing artificial shortage. Will somebody wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to work, and go and park the vehicle somewhere? You see, this conversation is twofold. The second one goes with the Abuso Kind spare parts sellers. Because of 45% of our vehicles are stuck in shops because of high cost of the spare parts. It makes our vehicles being locked up at shops. So these things all fall down to the number of people on the street. But the transport didn't do due diligence. The transport minister didn't do due diligence to this thing. And it has called and said it is we, the transporters, that have caused it. It's very uncalled for, because he don't know what he's doing. So he must quit or put his office down.
Right, David Agbuado, thank you very much. He's with the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. And earlier, we heard from Abbas Imoro, who is also with the GPRTU. And then before that, we heard from Alex Johnson, who is with the Transport Department at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. When we return from the break, we'll talk about the minority in Parliament who are clashed with the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, as both sides are trading blame over who sneaked controversial gay, lesbian and transgender definitions into teacher manuals. We'll delve into that and more. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back to UpFront. And tonight, the minority in Parliament has clashed with the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, with both sides trading blame over who sneaked the controversial gay, lesbian, and transgender definitions into teacher manuals in public schools across the country. Well, NACA was forced to recall the SHS2 physics education teacher manual and following intense public backlash over content suggestions that the gender goes beyond the binary definitions of male and female. And of course, the minority, backed by some civil society organizations, have since called for a full-scale probe into the matter and is demanding the immediate dismissal of NACA Director General. The minority is not only reinforcing these calls tonight, but they are also disputing the allegations that the previous government who drafted this manual included the definition. We'll hear from them shortly, but first, listen to Director General of NACA, Professor Samuel Ofori-Bequin, who told my colleague Evans Mensah on PM Express last night that this manual in contention was drafted in 2024 under the Akufo-Addo administration.
I cannot stay offhand because I wasn't there at that time. But if you pick any of the manuals,
I mean, because this manual, I think, if I'm not wrong, I think you explained that this manual must have been drafted.
2024, yes.
Oh, so this manual with the definition that has become controversial was drafted in 2024.
Exactly. In fact, 2025, nothing. I have never survived the writing of any manual. So this is something that was done in 2024. So and we are in correcting those flaws as and when it comes to our attention.
That this insertion of the gender identity definition, was done in 2024. That was, you were not at NACA at the time.
Yeah. I wasn't at NACA at the time. As I said, the drafting of the teacher manual, all of them, for all the subjects were done in 2024.
If I'm not mistaken, Tim Forjo was still the deputy minister at the time, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But you see, that's why, for me, if I'll say, the issue of always trying to bring politics into the curriculum space, for me, is a difficulty. We have spoken with some of them, those who wrote the manual.
Who are they?
I think in my explanation,
who are they?
And then,
when you say they, who are they?
I don't want to mention names here. We spoke with some of them, and they were also involved in the writing of the curriculum. It's not like those who wrote the manuals are different from those who wrote the curriculum.
Okay, so are they Ghanaians?
They are Ghanaians.
So they wrote this definition in the manual?
Exactly so.
I see. So
and we spoke to them, and then they tried to give reasons why they did that. But we felt that no, the reason wasn't that. Because if the reason they were indicating was so, then they should have provided more than one definition.
So there was no foreign influence at all in the...
No. Well, I don't know whether those people were influenced, but it's not a foreign person that put that in there. It was Ghanaians. Those who wrote it were Ghanaians.
All right, so that is NACA boss, Professor Bequin, in an interaction with my colleague Evans Mensah last night. And of course, NACA has since apologized for that debacle and has said that it will never occur again. And of course, they have also launched an investigation into this matter. And the minority has been very vocal about this particular subject. And earlier today, they held a press conference calling for the head of NACA boss, Professor Bequin, whose voice you heard a while ago. Let's come into the studio and speak to Vincent Eko Asefua, who fronted that particular press conference that was held by the minority in Parliament earlier today. He's also the MP for Otafo constituency. Grateful for your time in the studio. Welcome. The NACA boss has been, making some explanations. One of them is that he says this manual was written in 2024. At that time, former President Akufo-Addo was in government. That's what he says. Let's start from there. How do you respond to that?
So let me say a very good evening to you and to your cherished viewers. To start with, I think that UpFront should have asked for a copy of that draft that was drafted in 2024. I am challenging him that there's no document like that. There's no official document like that. See, in 2024, there was a publication, the only publication that was made in respect to the physical education manual is what I shared with one of your producers, and I wish that maybe they could project that. It's a 76-page document. In that document, nowhere was it even mentioned that sex was defined, or sexuality was defined, or gender was even defined. Nowhere. You see, what even fortify our contention with respect to the fact that it was drafted in 2024, and for that matter, they went ahead to go and even print it. Okay? We, on the side of the minority, feels that if government's policy is to make sure that gay, lesbianism, LGBTQ, if I should put it in that context, is something that we abhor, is something that we do not agree to, and for that matter, there cannot be a policy guideline that will be inculcated in any document. What that means is that, one, the NACA boss is incompetent. He is incompetent because on what basis was a document that was drafted in 2024? Okay? A document that was drafted in 2024, but NACA failed to go through that document to make sure that content in that document was one that they do not agree to, but they went ahead to print those documents. And that is why I'm saying that he's very incompetent. Because on one breath, you cannot tell the people of Ghana that the 2024 manual or the manual that you printed and published in 2025 was one that was, as it were, printed by the Akufo-Addo government, or if you like, it was a draft by the Akufo-Addo government. But you went ahead to print that document using taxpayers' money. So it means that there was no proofreading whatsoever. And so we believe that he is very incompetent. He does not even qualify to hold the position that he is holding. Because clearly, the document was not proofread, and they used state resources to go and print that manual or that document and circulated it across the country.
Right.
And so that is why I am very disappointed that Evans is not asking of that document. I am challenging him. There is no such document. The only document that I am aware of makes no mention of any definition whatsoever. Which document I have in my hand right now? You remember, in their press statement, they referred us to an online version because the one that has been printed has been withdrawn, because they are saying that they were so much incompetent, or they were incompetent to the extent that they did not even see the content of it, so they have withdrawn it. The online, or if like the digital version that they are referring us to, contains even worse definitions of what LGBTQ is.
What are some of those definitions?
Go and check page 3 and 5 of that document. That is the online version that they told us to go and look at. Page 3 and 5, the combined page numbers defines what gender is, sexual right is. If you have that document, you can read it for the benefit of your viewers.
Yeah, please go on.
To the extent that it defines gender to mean that when you so feel that you want to associate yourself with a certain kind of, if you like, gender, then you can do so. I mean, this is LGBTQ. As we sit here, we call ourselves males because we were born to be males. It is not because we feel that we are males. No.
Let me read it for you. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. It says, gender expression. This refers to the external display of one's gender through a combination of dress, demeanor, social behavior, and other factors, generally measured on scales of masculinity and femininity. Is that what you're referring to? There's another one that says, yes, it refers to the binary categories of male and female determined at birth and the behavioral, cultural, and psychological traits typically associated with each.
Yes.
And another one says that's a sexual boundary. It refers to the limits and rules that individuals set for themselves and others regarding sexual behavior and interactions. I don't know.
So this is page 3.
Yes, that's page 3.
Go and read the page 5 too. The combined effect of these pages will let you know this is proper LGBTQ. So that is what they referred us, that it is what they have reviewed.
Right.
Listen, the NACA is telling us that this document is what they have reviewed, and it does not contain anything LGBTQ. And I am suggesting to you, the people of Ghana, that even in that document, the definitions in there is worse.
So you are saying that even the reviewed document, it still contains aspects of LGBTQ.
Absolutely.
You've pointed me to page 5. I've gone there. Let me see if what you're referring to is what I'm about to read. It says sexual rights. The recognition of sexual rights includes the right to sexual pleasure, autonomy over one's own body, as well as freedom from violence and discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender. Is that what you're referring to?
Absolutely, absolutely. So they should point to us. We document in 2024, and the only document that was published in 2024 has no mention of what sex is, has no mention of what sexuality rights is, has no mention of what gender is, has no mention or whatsoever as to whether a person can decide to belong to a gender that he believes that he wants to belong to. No.
So does that mean that in 2024 a similar teacher's manual was drafted, but it didn't include all these contents?
Yes, and I have that document. I've shared it with James Avezi and I think Evans. They called me this afternoon and I shared that document with them. If I had your number, I would have shared that document with you right now. It is a document that was published in 2024. A document that was published in 2024, and it is a 76-page document. This is the document.
Right.
Physical education and health. And if your cameras can capture it, this is the document. It's a 2024 document, and the 2024 is captured right here on page 3. This is it, 2024. Okay, this is the only document that is in circulation. This is the only document that was printed in 2024 as far as physical education is concerned. And in this document, it's a 76-page document. In this document, nowhere can you find any definition or whatsoever of what sex is, of what sexual rights are, of what gender is. Nowhere.
Right. And has the minority conducted its own investigation into how these words found their way into the teachers' manuals?
Let us go with what NACA themselves said in their own press statement when they were responding to Reverend Ntimfojo when he exposed these documents. They said that the 2025 manual that they themselves shared has been withdrawn. They referred us to the online version, and the online version that they referred to us to is one that they themselves has reviewed, and that showcases the ideology and the beliefs and the policy directions of the NDC government. So, if you are telling us that a document that you have reviewed, it showcases the policy directions of the government, and in that document, okay, you can see LGBTQ tendencies. What research are you talking about? What research do you need again, apart from what is coming from the horse's own mouth? So, based on the statement that came from the NACA, you can clearly see that this government wanted to hide from the people of Ghana.
Of course, NACA has already told us that they've edited the manual, but you're still not satisfied. What do you want done? Do you want re-editing for all these words to be taken out?
They have to withdraw every document that has been shared based on the curriculum, every document that has been shared based on the teacher manual, because mind you, the teacher manuals are used to prepare lesson notes. So a teacher who used that manual, probably as we speak, has prepared lesson notes and is going to teach our kids LGBTQ tendencies. So we on the side of the minority believes that every document that has been shared should be withdrawn so that Parliament can have a probe into it, so that we can have a national definition, an acceptable one, of course, as to what sex is, as to what sexual rights are, as to what gender is, one that is based and hinged on our cultural values, one that is based and hinged on our religious beliefs and values. If that is not done, then the NDC government will try and hide behind, and as it were, put these things in our curriculum, or if you like, our teacher manuals, and now come and tell you that it was done by a certain government. Remember, it was in 2012-2016, when President Mahama was President of the Republic of Ghana, when comprehensive sexuality education was first introduced in this country. But in 2019, they feigned ignorance about the existence of the comprehensive sexuality education that President Mahama himself introduced in 2012 to 2016 and put that on the MPP that we were trying to introduce LGBTQ tendencies in our
So
schools.
the one that came out in 2019 was by the NDC, that's what you say?
Absolutely. Go and check. In fact, they did that in consonance or if in collaboration with the UNFPA. It was a pilot program.
If it was a pilot program and it wasn't good then, of course, it certainly isn't good now. Why were you not so vociferous about it back then like you are now?
Let your producers check. I sat here right in this studio. Let your
2019.
producers check. I sat here right in this studio and condemned it, and I told the people of Ghana that I do not subscribe to anything that portrays tendencies of LGBTQ because it affronts my Catholic beliefs as a stand Catholic. I've said this over and over again, so I've been very consistent about this argument.
Right. You're calling for the head of the NACA boss, Professor Bakwin. What exactly would you say are his crimes that you're calling for his head?
So when you have a NACA boss who comes to tell you that the document is a document that was drafted in 2024, one, he has not been able to show you any document that was drafted in 2024. I have told you that there is no document that was in existence. There's no official document that was in existence. The only document that was in existence is the 2024 one that was published that I just showed you. Two, you have a NACA boss who says that I do not believe in some of the contents of a book or a document that he himself supervised, published, printed, used state resources to print, yet he says that the government's policy direction is at variance with the content of that document. What does that mean? It means you're incompetent. Because you have also affirmed that by withdrawing the content, if you like, the manuals of all these printed manuals that you shared across the country, what have you done? You have caused financial loss to the state. And that is why we on the side of the minority is saying that he does not deserve to be the NACA boss, because clearly he's very incompetent.
If it's caused financial loss to the state, as you say, then not only should he be fired, he should be prosecuted, no?
Well, that should be in the ambit of the Attorney General. It is the same government as to whether they are going to do that, because there's a government who has a record of, as it were, filing nolle prosequa for its own people. Okay? Before this government took the reins of government, there were a number of cases before the court. They filed nolle prosequa because all of them were NDC people. In fact, some of them have even gone ahead to get appointment. So I may not have that belief that this Attorney General will be able to do that. But as I'm saying, the people of Ghana deserves a document, a curriculum that espouses our cultural values, a curriculum and a teacher manual that espouses our religious values. And that is what the minority will fight for. This is not politics.
The minority has been accused of double standards. We were in this country when we heard a lot about the anti-LGBTQ bill that, was passed in Parliament but never saw the light of day to become law. And here we are today with the same minority that were then majority, where people were accusing you of failing to, pass that anti-LGBTQ bill into law, now fighting for something that people wanted you to pass when you were in government, which many people say if it had passed during your tenure, all these wouldn't have happened.
Let me show you who a true double standard hypocritical person or government is. Let me show you. You have a government who some few days after taking reins of power meets the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and tells them that the bill died with the 8th Parliament. And for that matter, when there's an opportunity for the bill to be presented back to him, he will sign it. You have his own leader in Parliament, leader of government business. I repeat, leader of government business, who says that the bill has already been passed. The president says this, and the leader of government business also says another thing. In fact, I am a member of those members of Parliament who reintroduced the LGBTQ bill back to Parliament by way of a private member's bill. The day that it was advertised on the order paper, 24 hours later, the majority leader and the leader of government business made sure that it was removed from the order paper. Mind you, before anything is advertised on the order paper, it goes through a lot of processes, especially when it is by way of a private member's bill. It means that the Speaker of Parliament must have agreed to it. It means that the Clerk of Parliament must have agreed to it. It means that the legislative draftsman must have gone through all the legal procedures, must have also ensured that there's a mischief or a lacuna in our laws that is being cured by the private member's bill. The legislative draftsman made sure that the legal tenet, or if like the lines of the bill, was drafted before it was now introduced on the floor of Parliament. You had only one person, that is the leader of government business, saying that it is not possible, if you like, the bill has already been passed. So the president is saying one thing, and you have also the leader of government business also saying one thing. The difference between this one and the NPP government was that if we were not committed, if we did not have the political will, we were in government at the time, we would have made sure, because we had a leader of government business at the time with the side of the NPP, and we would have made sure that it will not even find space on the order paper, as they are doing now. If it doesn't even find space on the order paper, it tells you the lack of political will to be able to deal with the LGBTQ bill. So it is not true that the NPP is portraying tendencies of double standard. No, we are not doing that. What actually transpired during the 8th Parliament was that it went through all the proper procedures.
Okay.
Had it not been the fact that there was a legal tussle as to whether or not the bill was supposed to have been transferred to the President of the Republic or not. In any case, assuming without admitting that we failed in that regard, it is on that basis that the people of Ghana voted against us and said that we failed in that pursuit, assuming without admitting. And they brought in the NDC, who told, led by President Mahama, who told the religious bodies in KNUST that when given the opportunity as President of the Republic of Ghana, I'm going to make sure that there's a passage of this bill. Today, what is happening? 1 year down the lane, there's no political will. Do you know that in the last session of Parliament, that is the 2025 year, 33 urgent bills were passed on the floor of Parliament. 33. They were passed under a certificate of urgency, to the extent that even the sports fund bill was passed under a certificate of urgency. Gold board was passed under a certificate of urgency. 33 of them. So if there is any political will to be able to deal with the LGBTQ law, the government will bring it to Parliament by way of a certificate of urgency and pass it within 3 days. It is sad that the Christian Council is quiet. The Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference are quiet. The Methodist Conference is quiet. The Presbyterian Conference is also quiet. The Muslim Conference is quiet. The CSOs are quiet. The Foreign and the other people are all quiet. Today, the voices of conscience cannot be found. You remember that even Newsfile, here, this is your station, Newsfile conducted a research into why there is a delay in the passage of the LGBTQ bill. Today, Newsfile and Joy, they are quiet. The media is quiet. Everybody is quiet.
Well, to be fair, the CSOs and those religious bodies that you've mentioned have not been quiet. They've been speaking. Most of them were on Evans's
the way they used
show yesterday.
They used to speak in 2024 and 2023. It's not the same momentum that we are seeing today.
You are a ranking member on the Youth and Sports Committee, correct? Now we've heard the Education Minister. He's spoken about this and saying that he hopes and has vowed that this will never occur again under his tenure. Do you have any aspirations of dragging him before Parliament to come and answer questions? Because, of course, he's the overall boss when it comes to education in this country.
Well, from what the Minister of Education is saying, and to be fair to him, you can clearly see that he was failed by his subordinate, which is the NACA CEO. Because when you listen to the NACA boss, because mind you, when you're a minister of state, you do not micromanage the institutions. You do not micromanage the agencies, no. You rely on briefs from your agencies, the CEOs of these agencies, you rely on their briefs. So if a CEO comes to brief you on something, it is likely that you may be deceived, especially if you have an incompetent CEO like the NACA boss. A NACA boss who tells you that I did not see that the tendencies of LGBTQ was in a manual, which manual has been printed with state money and has been distributed across the country. That one, you cannot hold the minister responsible. You have to hold the NACA boss responsible. He will have to be held responsible. So I can see the minister trying to, as it were, whitewash the situation, trying to make it look as if he knows nothing about it. I can't grant him that because I have been a deputy minister before. There have been a lot of instances that you have agencies of institutions who sometimes even feel powerful than the minister, who sometimes even feel that they are just answerable to Jubilee House without necessarily engaging the minister. You can have all those kind of local or if you like institutional politics going on.
Right.
So maybe I'll grant him that. But I am saying that at this juncture, without any evidence that the minister was involved in this failure, I am calling for the head, or the minority is calling for the head of the NACA boss because he has shown an incompetent tendencies and he does not qualify to hold the office of a CEO of NACA.
What other steps are the minority going to take in this issue?
Well, Parliament will resume very soon, somewhere early February, if all things being equal. We are calling for a parliamentary probe to make sure that there is a proper stakeholder engagement going forward so that we can find a suitable definitions for some of these words in our curriculum. You can find a suitable definition for what sexual rights are. You can find a suitable definition for what sex is. You can find a suitable definition for what gender is, so that you do not have tendencies of definitions where you give freedom and, if you like, confidence to someone that you can decide to feel any way that you feel if you think that this is how you want to feel. So if you say that you are free to engage others without using words like, or if you like, phrases like opposite sex, others can even mean animals. Others can even mean animals. So if I have the freedom to feel that I'm a man, but my sexual orientation to others means that, or per my belief, means that as a man sitting here as Vincent, I want to sleep with a dog. It is others. Such phrases cannot be used in our curriculum because Ghana is a country of religiosity. It's a country of culture. We cannot allow any government, we cannot allow President Mahama, we cannot allow the leader of government business to put us into that mess. The minority, even if we are three, will not allow that to happen.
Of course, the conversation has always been about how this found its way in the teacher's manual. But the big question is, why do you think this found its way in the teacher's manual in the first place? Why do you think it found its way in there?
Well, so as I was saying, 2024, the only manual that I have seen is the one that I just projected to you. 2025, I can tell you for a fact that until the NACA boss is able to prove to us that there was a document that was in existence like that in 2024, I can only suggest, or there can be a rebuttable presumption that this was the doing of NACA. This was the doing of elements in NDC, elements in government, to make sure that we find this expression in our manual. That is the only rebuttable conclusion that I can have.
You say that the buck stops with the NACA boss and not with the education minister, because you say the oversight responsibility really does not lie within the onus of the education minister. Genuinely, don't you think that the NACA boss also has a case to say that it's something that escaped him as well? And of course, he has an oversight responsibility, but is it only him that has to go?
There are some sins that can be forgiven. There are some sins that are pardonable.
This is not one of them.
You make a mistake, okay? You make a mistake of putting into our manuals for all teachers across the country, as far as the senior high schools are concerned, to go and teach our kids gayism, lesbianism, and all other forms of LGBTQ+.
Right.
And you say that it is a pardonable sin. It cannot be pardonable. Two things. It is either intentional or he is simply incompetent. And that's why I'm saying that he does not qualify to hold the position that he's holding. I have seen a lot of NACA bosses who are very diligent, Dr. Prince Sama and Co, very diligent people, that these things will not happen under their tenure. So for a NACA boss to allow this to happen, I can tell you for a fact that without any dislike for his person, I don't even know him, without any dislike for his person, he does not hold the, as it were, the capacity to be able to hold such a sensitive position. Because had it not been some few diligent persons in this country, this thing would have been in our books at the various schools as far as the senior schools are concerned.
Vincent Eko Asefwa, thank you very much. He's the MPP MP for Old Trafford constituency. He's also the ranking member on the Youth and Sports Committee of Parliament. This has been Upfront. My name is Kenneth Jesse. The news team is back at 7 p.m. with Joy News Prime. Have a good evening.